As a kid growing up in the 80s, when I thought of strength, it was measured in biceps and body slams. For me, a few icons came to mind. Hulk Hogan ripping his shirt like it was made of tissue paper. Arnold Schwarzenegger launching missiles and delivering cheesy one-liners. And FloJo flying across the finish line with dazzling nails, unmatched speed, and yes, a mullet most of us forgot she had. Strength back then, it was loud, it was flashy, it was invincible. Take yourself back to childhood. When you thought of strength, who came to mind? As I grew older, my perception of strength changed. I began to understand that strength isn't always about muscles or medals. Sometimes strength is quiet, sometimes it's unseen, and sometimes it shows up in places we'd never expect. That's when I met the truest definition of strength I'd ever known. My late grandmother, Flora, or as I called her, Mimi. She didn't look like the others. She never stepped on a stage, but she was the strongest person I'd ever known. She was widowed young, with 3 daughters to raise and only a 3rd grade education. She survived poverty, abuse, and a world that never handed her a thing. And she did it all quietly, with no fanfare. She wasn't praised for being strong. She had to be. There were no self-care days, just grit, survival. Who taught you what strength meant? Was it shown through silence, perfection, survival? In my family, strength looked like pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and getting it done. You worked twice as hard to prove you were enough, and you never let anyone see you crack. My Mimi passed that survival blueprint down to my mother and eventually to me. That's the strength that I inherited. And for most of my life, I wore it like armor. What kind of armor are you wearing right now? The kind made of, I'm fine, or I've got this, or I don't need anyone. At 18, I was financially independent. I couldn't afford college, so I got a job as a part-time bank teller. It was supposed to be temporary, but that teller job turned into a 27-year career. And today, I'm a senior leader in banking. To people watching, I looked strong, but what they didn't see was the fear, the pressure, and the stories that I buried, convinced that they would make me look weak. Because that's what strong leaders did, right? Or so I thought. I was still living in survival mode, still wearing strength as armor. My mother's story mirrored Mimi's, one of poverty, abuse, survival. And in some of the neighborhoods that I grew up in, vulnerability wasn't safe. It made you a target. It was like blood in the water. Fear drew predators. Kindness drew takers. I learned fast to keep my head up, my eyes open, and my feelings locked down. My environment hardened me. And as a professional, I didn't want to endure the same pain they did, so I built a shield, and I'd be damned if anyone messed with me. I carried that definition of strength with me into my 40s. A few years ago, I watched Brené Brown's TED Talk, The Power of Vulnerability. And let me tell you, I was not ready for it. For decades, I thought that if I wasn't strong, I wouldn't be safe or seen. But the cost, disconnection, exhaustion, loneliness, and missed opportunities for real connection. For the first time, I realized that everything that I thought that made me strong, perfection, independence, toughness, were all actually keeping me disconnected. It turns out that the thing I was most afraid of, being truly seen, cracks and all, was the one thing that could set me free? What if the strongest thing you could do right now is stop pretending that you have it all together? That's when I began to navigate my life differently. And little by little, I began sharing pieces of my story, letting people see the real me. And something unexpected happened. People didn't judge, they embraced me. And as I peeled back the armor, I uncovered another illusion I'd carried with me for years, one about people, privilege, and wealth. Growing up poor, I believed wealth looked like a full pantry. And over time, I resented those who had it, convinced they would never understand someone like me. They didn't have to struggle. They had it all together. They didn't have to sleep at night in a Texas heat with no air conditioning. If someone looked privileged, I kept my distance, assuming we had nothing in common. I didn't want to be judged, so I judged first. But once I started opening up, I realized something powerful. The very people I once avoided were carrying burdens I couldn't see, and some almost identical to mine. Wow. Let that sink in. All these preconceived notions of people that I carried into my 40s just to realize it was all wrong. Think about someone you've kept at a distance. Could there be more to their story than you realized? Strength isn't perfection. It's presence. It's showing up, cracks and all. There's a term coined by psychology researchers called the beautiful mess effect. It describes how we often judge our own vulnerability as weakness, yet see other people's vulnerability as brave. And in one of their studies, participants imagined being in vulnerable scenarios like confessing romantic feelings, making a mistake, asking for help. When imagining themselves doing those things, they predicted they'd seem awkward or weak. But when watching someone else doing those exact same things, they thought those people were courageous and admirable. Isn't that wild? We spend so much time trying to look put together when the thing that actually draws people to us is when we don't have it all together. I experienced this firsthand as the president of a nonprofit for women in finance. I almost didn't accept the role because I didn't think I was presidential enough. But something surprising happened. The more I led with honesty, the more people leaned in. They didn't want perfect. They wanted real. And after one of my talks, a college student messaged me and wrote, "I'm so fearful of my life that it's consuming me. You taught me that it's okay to be vulnerable, and your story makes me feel seen and hopeful." That message has stuck with me because I remember being her. And that is the kind of strength I believe in now. Not the polished kind, not the I've got it all figured out kind, but the kind where we show up real and messy, especially when it's messy. So here's your invitation. Challenge the illusion. Choose connection over perfection. And start with just one crack of honesty. Here's the part I wish someone had told me. Strength isn't the absence of struggle. It's the courage to be seen as we really are. In the moment you stop hiding, you give other people permission to do the same. Mimi taught me how to survive, but vulnerability taught me how to live. So, if you're carrying the weight of pretending, I see you. You don't have to have it all together. You don't have to hide your story to be worthy of leadership, love, or belonging. Your beautiful mess, that's not your shame. That's your real strength. Challenge the illusion that strength means never cracking. Share your story. You never know who it will impact. I think about my Mimi all the time. Her grit, her resilience. She gave me this foundation to stand on. But what I've also learned is that strength is not always about survival. Sometimes it looks like letting go of who you think you need to be. Sometimes it looks like saying, I need help. And sometimes it looks like standing here on a stage telling a truth you've never spoken out loud. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Strength isn't about never breaking. It's about being real. Your story is your bridge to connection. Share it. Vulnerability is contagious. Your courage can awaken courage in others. So, what story have you been hiding to protect your image of strength? And what might happen if you finally let someone see the real you? Strength begins with vulnerability. Take the first step. Thank you.